All right, today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, weekly mileage.
That one is huge.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I'm Ben with Run Slow to Run Fast. I hope your spring is going well so far. I personally just came off of a training race. It's called Coldwater Traverse, 16 miler this past Saturday. Today's Monday, so just kind of still in recovery mode, just taking a day off just to kind of take it easy and mostly just as a mental recovery, and then I'll get back after it for tomorrow. Today I wanted to share with you some of my thoughts and perspective on weekly mileage. This is a question that I get a lot from friends and family who run and trying to understand how they should structure their weekly mileage. So I wanted to go through a few scenarios with you and just some basic principles regarding training that I think will help you in structuring what your weekly mileage should look like. So first thing that you might imagine that I would say on this channel, the title of the channel is Run Slow to Run Fast. Majority of your running, 80, 85, maybe even 90% of your running should be easy or slow running. Now, slow is certainly a relative term that could be different for everybody. Slow to you, maybe a 7-minute mile. Slow to someone else, maybe a 12-minute mile. So you want to understand what that is. When we talk about slow running, this is running that is keeping your heart rate down. You want to keep it somewhere in the 60, 65% range, just to make sure that you're not taxing your anaerobic system too much, but really building out your aerobic base in trying to become a better runner. That will be the number one thing that will help you the most, is building volume at that aerobic level. One of the other key principles to think about is how are you going to structure any of your long runs. Generally, weekly mileage contains at least one day where you have a long run. Generally, the recommendation is that this doesn't exceed 30% of your weekly mileage. So if you're running, let's say 30 miles a week, your long run may be 8 or 9 miles, something in that neighborhood. Obviously, if you're running 100 miles a week, then your long run is not going to be 30 miles, but it may be 20, 25, somewhere in that neighborhood. So you want to make sure to understand that, as that's a key component of any training block and weekly mileage, is to make sure that you're consistently hitting that long run. And that long run should generally be, again, a slow or easy run, just kind of a longer run to build out, again, that aerobic base and make sure that you have a strong aerobic engine. All right, another factor or component that you want to consider with your weekly mileage, and this is where I think a lot of people mess up, especially new runners, when they're starting to build out what their weekly mileage or what their consistency looks like with training, is they're overtraining or they're doing too many speed works or fast workouts, things like that. Generally speaking, I recommend 1 to 2 a week. For myself, I run Monday through Saturday. I always take Sundays off. For me, I generally do a speed work or some type of harder workout, harder effort on Tuesday, and then occasionally I'll throw something in on Thursday. So for me, let's say I do a kind of an easier recovery run on Monday. On Tuesday, I'll do something like a hill workout. I'll do a tempo run. I'll do something along those lines on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I'll do another kind of slower base or recovery type day. And then on Thursday, I may do more of a hilly type workout, something that's focused on incline as a trail runner. And right now, my main focus is to increase or to better my uphill running. So for me, Thursdays are usually a day where it is a little bit of a harder effort. It's more of kind of that moderate range, but it is focused on running uphill. And again, for you, that may be a moderate flat day, something like that. You don't want to overdo it. If you're doing 2 really hard workouts in any given week, that will overtax your system and can lead to injury. So you do want to avoid that. Again, I think really what you want to do is hit one really key workout each week, and then you may do some other, a shorter workout or something that's not as intense on another day during the week. All right, as I mentioned, one of the main things that we want to try to be doing when we're building up our weekly mileage is increasing the amount of miles that we can run in any given week. So that will be what helps you. Again, we want to focus on that slow or that easy running in order to do so. And let's say, for a novice runner, let's say we're starting at 20 or 30 miles a week. The goal should be over subsequent weeks to gradually notch that up a little by little, maybe about 10% or so per week. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule, that 10%. It may be 15, it may be 20. It depends on a lot of different factors like your running history. If you previously were running 100 miles and a week, and let's say you took a few weeks off or you had an injury, you may not need to start at 30 miles a week. A down week or a starting week for you may be 50, 60 miles, something along those lines. But I would say for a novice runner, let's say you're in that 20 mile neighborhood, week 1, maybe 20 miles, week 2, maybe 22, 23, week 3 of that block, maybe 26, 27, and build up to 30, something along those lines. You want it to be a gradual build up over time. Make sure that you're not overdoing it, that you're allowing your body time to adapt to the new stress that it's undertaking, and making sure that you can your body's recovering well enough to be able to take on that mileage each of those subsequent weeks. Now let's actually go ahead and we'll look at a few different scenarios here. We're going to look at a 30, a 50, and a 70 mile week, and how I personally would structure it. You'll notice as I go through these that usually on a 30 or a 50 mile week, you're just doing one run per day. As we start to get into that 60, 70 mile range, there may be a couple of days in there where you will sprinkle in a second day or a second session on it, one given day of running, to be able to reach that weekly mileage. You don't want to overstress or overtax your body on any given day. So, there may be situations where it's best to do, let's say, a speed workout in the morning, and then in the, around lunchtime or in the afternoon, you may do a small recovery run to get in that mileage and then to be ready for your running the next day. So again, we're looking at a 30, a 50, and a 70 mile week. All right, so here we're looking at a 30 mile training week. You can see on Monday, we're doing, some lower mileage, fairly easy, 4 miles on Monday, 6 on Tuesday. Wednesday is when we'll do our workout. And again, the workout could be a variety of different things. It could be hill repeats. It could be a tempo workout. A tempo meaning kind of something that's comfortably hard that you can sustain for a few miles. So in this 5 mile run on Wednesday that I have here, you can see that, I would probably do a 1 mile warm up in there, do 3 miles at a tempo pace. Again, a comfortably hard pace that you can sustain for all 3 miles, something around what you would anticipate that maybe your 10K pace is, and then you would do a 1 mile cool down on Wednesday. Thursday, you're going to do 4 miles again. That would be a recovery run. So you're going to want to keep your heart rate low. You want to take it extra easy. You just kind of want to shake out the legs, get them ready for your long run that's coming up here on Saturday. So you take Friday off to make sure that you're fresh and ready to go for your Saturday long run of 9 miles. Again, that long run on Saturday should also be in that easy range, should not be working very hard. You definitely want to keep it in that 60 to 65% range for your heart rate. Again, that's 60 to 65% of your max heart rate. And then on Sunday, we're just going to do a couple of easy miles, again, just to shake out the legs, make sure that we're loose, try to prevent injury there. And so that's what a 30 mile training week would look like in my eyes. That's how I would structure it. So that's kind of the starting point. Again, that's 30 miles a week. I would recommend this for somebody that is, fairly new to running, but they're starting to get into it a little bit enough that they feel like they can sustain 30 miles per week. All right, so next up we've got a 50 mile training week. This for me is a fairly standard week for myself. I do roughly 50 miles a week on just a regular week if I'm not training for some big race or something like that. For me, on my training blocks, a really big training week for me is about 65 miles or so. So this is, pretty standard, kind of a maintenance type week for me myself. So generally on Mondays, I'll do 6 miles. Tuesday is almost always a workout day. I have a 7.5 mile loop that I like for my workout days. Again, this could be some tempo miles in there. If you're doing 50 miles a week, you're generally going to have longer tempo runs. Again, tempo being something that's comfortably hard. So for me, I'm generally going to be doing about 5 miles at a tempo pace, something along those lines. Again, on Wednesday, we're going to do 6 miles. We're going to keep it a little bit easier on Wednesday just to make sure that we're fully recovered. We're keeping that heart rate low. On Thursday, I'll do kind of a moderate medium long run. So you can see this is the second longest run during the week. And as you start to build up your mileage and you get into that 50 plus range, that's generally when you'll start to add in that medium long run. So you've got your longest run of the week, which is going to be for me and for most people, it's on the weekend when they've got time to do so. So 16 miles for me on Saturday. And then your second longest run there for me is going to be on Thursday. And I'll do, I may do most of those miles at a moderate pace. I'll just kind of play it by feel. I may do, just 4 or 5 miles at a moderate pace. but kind of getting a little bit more quality in there and spiking my heart rate some, but not near as high as I would get it during that workout on Tuesday. And then on Friday, we're going to do another easy kind of slash recovery day. We're going to keep that heart rate fairly low, do 5.5 miles on Friday just to make sure that we're well rested and we're leading into our long run in a pretty good place, making sure not to get injured, things like that. And then for me on Saturday, that's when my long run is, generally about 16 miles or so. For me, I generally run anywhere from about 16 to 20 miles on most Saturdays. And then again, for me on Sundays, I take those days off. So this is how you get to that 50-mile mark in a given week. So hopefully this is helpful for you in understanding the general structure of what a 50-mile week would look like. All right, so finally to the bigger week, you can see here I've got an example of what a 70-mile week would look like, again, in my opinion, and how I would generally structure a 70-mile week. So you're going to start off the week with a base building type run. Again, it's going to be on the easier end of the spectrum, 8 miles on Monday. Tuesday, just because of the sheer volume that you're trying to get in during this week, again, once you get up to that 60 or 70 mile mark, that's generally when I would start to break out those runs and maybe do 2 a day. So on Tuesday, you've got 7 miles in the morning, and that's going to be your workout. And then in the afternoon on Tuesday, you're going to do a 4-mile just recovery run on Tuesday. Wednesday, you're back to that just easy base mileage. You've got 8 miles there on Wednesday. Thursday, you're going to do a moderate run. You can see here that I've noted that you would do maybe 5 of those miles at a moderate pace, the rest of them just on the easy end of the spectrum. And this Thursday is going to be your medium long run, as I mentioned in the previous 50-mile week. Friday, you would move into, again, just kind of a base day with about 7 miles. You can see I've kind of tapered it back just a little bit from what our general Monday and Wednesday mileage is, just to make sure that we're prepped and ready for our long run on Saturday. Saturday is going to be 19 miles for your long run. And then on Sunday, you're just going to do a few recovery miles there, about 5 miles again, keeping that heart rate extra low, just making sure that we're shaking out a little bit and getting ready for the next week of training. All right, so hopefully some of those examples were helpful for you in understanding how you would generally structure your weekly mileage on those 30, 50, and 70-mile weeks. Obviously, everyone's going to do it a little bit different, and there's no perfect science to this. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments if there's a different way that you would structure either of any of those weeks, the 30, 50, or 70-mile week. I always love to kind of hear what other people do with their training plans. Some of the things that I didn't mention in those weekly mileages that you want to certainly remember to do. Some of the things that you want to do, especially on your easy days, are throw in a few strides. Strides are just 10 to 15 second bursts of speed at the end of your run, going to about 90-95% speed, and then resting and just doing a few intervals at the end of your easy days just to help open up your gait cycle and your stride, just to make sure that your legs are loose, and that really can help build your speed and help prime you for some of your speed days. So those are some things that you definitely want to add into your training plan. Additionally, I didn't talk much about periodization. Ultimately, what that is kind of, as I touched on previously, is you want to build up your mileage, but you don't want to build up your mileage exponentially, right? So you don't want to start at 20 and then go to 23, 28, 30, and just do that forever. What you want to do is build kind of these micro cycles of training. So let's say you're doing a 12-week training plan. You may start at 20, do 23, 28, 30, and then maybe drop back down to 25 for a week just to give your body time to recover. Just some time to deload is what it's called sometimes, and then move back up to, let's say, 30 miles, 32, 35, 38, and then again, step back a little bit, maybe move back down to 32, 33, and then work your way back up. So you want to kind of gradually build, take a down week, gradually build again, and give your body, again, time to adapt to those new stresses of your weekly mileage. So again, hopefully this video is helpful for you. I'd love to do more of these videos if you guys find it helpful. I'd love to talk about speed work and different types of speed workouts and how to do those as part of your training plan. So let me know if you'd like to see some additional videos in kind of a series of building out your weekly mileage and training plans. But thanks for sticking through to the video, through to the end of the video, and we will see you guys on the next one. Thanks so much for tuning in, and remember, run slow to run fast.